Romances probably aren't the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about One Piece. But what if I tell you that there are some secret relationships in the show that you never knew about? That's why in this video, I'll be explaining all 18 secret and future couples in One Piece. Starting with Smoker and Hina. You might think Smoker has no romantic bone in his smoky Logia body, but you'd be surprised to know that he's kind of a charmer. If you take a look at the cover page for chapter 586, you'll notice Smoker and Hina casually enjoying a walk through the town. Now, judging by the clothes they're wearing and the fact that Hina is holding a purse, I'd say they're most likely out on a date. However, if this image is not enough to convince you, there are a few more things that point in this direction. Firstly, we know that they enlisted in the Marines at the same time, and Oda even said that Hina saved Smoker multiple times when he was about to get fired. He even said that these two are stuck with each other. Another thing hinting towards this is that they wind up getting featured together pretty often, both in the anime and the manga. Like for example, in this poster Oda made to promote film Z. At the end of each section, I'll also give you a score of 1 through 10 on how likely a certain relationship is to happen. And I really believe in this one. 8 out of 10. There are still 17 secret couples left to cover though. And let's continue with the one most of you probably didn't know about, Koby and Hibari. When we first met Koby in episode 1, it was hard to believe that this frail, scared boy would ever find someone. However, just by being the kind, gentle soul he was pre-time skip, he actually managed to attract someone, Hibari. Although his unexpected glow up definitely played a role too. So what's the backstory behind this? Well, at one point, Koby saved Hibari during the battle, and afterward, she told him that she had lost her very important teddy bear somewhere. So what did Cody do? He went to the battlefield again and searched for it for multiple days. Although he got really injured, he eventually managed to find it and give it back to Hibari. And as you would expect, she has been head over heels for him since then. She even named her bear after him. When Koby was captured by the Blackbeard pirates, Hibari and 𝐿𝐿mapo were the first ones to shed tears for him and begged the other sword members to save him. She also took part in the raid on Hachinosu and even brought Koby some lunch. Just look at how happy she is knowing her hero is safe. It's pretty clear that there's something going on between these two. Koby's just a bit too dense to figure it out for himself. I'll give this one a 10 out of 10 score. And if you're rooting for our boy Koby as well, hit the subscribe button to wish him good luck. Buggy and Alvida. Captains Buggy and Alvida were perhaps one of the most iconic villains of the Romance Dawn saga, and they both went on to become recurring characters within the series who stuck together even post-time skip. Some of you may not know this, but Alvida actually saved Buggy's life the first time they met by defeating this giant crab monster. Although they only formed an alliance in order to defeat the Straw Hat Pirates, they still kept working together even though the world assumed the Straw Hats were finished during the time skip, which means that these two probably enjoy each other's company more than they'd like to admit. Who says a jester can't bag a baddie? He's literally one of the former Pirate King's crewmates and certainly knows how to be charming when he wants to. I'll give this one 7 out of 10. But let's now cover a future relationship that involves our favorite human reindeer, Chopper and Milky. Although we didn't get to see much of Milky, Oda did give us quite a few romantic moments that occur on screen between her and Chopper. I mean, just check out the way Chopper looks at her. Funnily enough, their relationship isn't as one-sided either, considering how Milky gives Chopper way more attention compared to others she interacts with. You don't see her kissing other Straw Hats like this. During one of the SBSs, Oda has confirmed that Milky is the only character Chopper wants to date in the entire series. He even added that once Chopper falls deeply in love, nothing will be able to stop him. Although interactions between these two were very brief, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world for them to end up together. 6 out of 10. Mihawk and Perona. Someone like Mihawk, who prefers living in abandoned castles and traveling the Grand Line on his own, doesn't seem like the person who would tolerate company. And yet, when it comes to Perona, he actually does. Despite how annoying he seemingly finds Perona, he kept her around for a surprisingly long time, and even took care of her and let her repay the favor. He lets her act like a brat around him and overall seems to genuinely like her and care about her safety, even telling her that it's best to leave his island soon as the Marines will come for him after the reverie. Besides, considering both of their aesthetic choices, they are literally a perfect pair. Goth, gloomy, eerie, they're perfect for each other. Oda also portrayed their relationship on a couple of cover pages where Perona seems genuinely interested in him. Since the creator of the series is okay with portraying the two of them as close, maybe it just might work out. They're both very reserved though, so expecting them to let each other know how they feel isn't gonna happen anytime soon. 6 out of 10. There are still 13 couples left to cover, and let's continue with Sabo and Koala. They might be up against the world, but with so many missions to work together on, there has to be something brewing up between Sabo and Koala. They're just adorable together, and it's clear that they deeply care about each other. There's certainly a lot of chemistry between them. Just look at how worried Koala was for Sabo's safety after the Lulusia incident. Another interesting thing is that Koala even refers to him as Sabo-kun, even though he occupies a superior role within the Revolutionary Army, which means that they must be really close. They've both seen the unspeakable horrors that their world has to offer, and yet bring happiness into each other's lives despite it. When asked about them, Oda only said that they met while training in the Revolutionary Army, and that they work very well together. Until we get more information about them, I'd say this one has around a 5 out of 10 chance of happening. Sanji and Viola. During the Dressrosa arc, the Straw Hat's cook finally got one over on Life when Viola suddenly ran into him asking for his help. In that instant, it was clear the two of them shared a lot of chemistry, but it came to a boil once they shared a kiss to evade the kingdom's guards. Viola knew Sanji was a part of the Straw Hat crew, so she wanted to lead him into a trap, but his charisma and charm ended up winning her over. In the end, she wound up giving his crew crucial information that helped them defeat Doflamingo. There were several moments where Sanji made her blush, and his advances were never outright rejected by her. Even while threatening him, she was holding back the tears. Oda did his best to pull the plug, and eventually made the pair have to part ways. Even then, they both had a lot left to say to each other that might come out next time, if they ever meet again. It's possible, but highly unlikely in my opinion. 3 out of 10. Frankie and Robin. These two are the smartest people on the Straw Hat crew, and before Jinbei and Brook came along, they were also the oldest. So it's only natural to assume there'd be something going on between them, at least behind the scenes. After all, Oda did claim they're like mother and father to the rest of their crewmates. Not only that, but if you've been paying attention to the story so far, you might have noticed several moments between the two that show off their compatibility with each other. Like the time Frankie offered to give Robin a ride during the Wano arc in chapter 979. Frankie clearly wasn't happy about Brook taking him up on his offer. Not only that, it seems like Robin isn't very happy about the situation either. The heart in her speech bubble clearly indicated she was flattered by the offer. And yeah, I hear you, the way they interact with each other that way is only because they're good friends. And although that might be true, you have to admit that their friendship has a good potential to be a bit more than that. Remember that Frankie was the one to save Robin from bullets during Ennia's lobby, and later on, Robin did some very interesting convincing in order to make him join the crew. Also, check out this cover spread from chapter 988. You can clearly see Robin showing some love to Frankie, and it seems like he's enjoying every second of it. 6 out of 10. However, this is not the only possible relationship for Robin, as there's actually another one. Robin and Law. Now, I know Robin and Law are the two characters who don't really wind up spending a lot of time together. However, their shared love of history does make it clear that there's a potential for them to actually get together at some point, despite not showing much interest in each other like that quite yet. Another thing connecting them is that they both lived through some of the most horrific events as children, and they both have seen their fair share of violence and madness. They even share the same kind of vibe when it comes to being gloomy and surprisingly whimsical at the same time. They even went out on a date together, albeit to avoid suspicion. But it looked like Robin was enjoying herself quite a bit. Although this couple is something a lot of fans want, I don't think it's that likely to happen, so 4 out of 10. Zoro and Tashigi. Zoro may be a lost cause when it comes to certain things, but he's clearly someone who shows an interest in women. He's known to blush on several occasions when he's in close vicinity to a woman who shows even the slightest interest in him. It's the same thing when he's around a person who looks exactly like his childhood rival, Tashigi. Tashigi may be too frail and timid for someone like Zoro to fall for, but she shares the same kind of ambition and interest in swords that he does. She's also the only woman he's met who gets him bickering with her as if they're an old married couple. Furthermore, Zoro saved her on multiple occasions, and she even repaid the favor during the events of Punk Hazard. It's clear that she deeply cares about his opinions of her, and she's also quick to call Zoro out if she ever catches him slacking off. Although Zoro himself can't really pin it down, there's something about Tashigi that really bothers him. I'll give this one 4 out of 10. But Tashigi isn't the only future relationship candidate for Zoro, as there's actually someone way more likely to become Zoro's future wife, Hiyori. As as if sharing a bed with each other wasn't enough, Zoro and Hiyori have tons of reasons to wind up together. You see, Zoro's ancestors were originally from Wano and later settled down in Shimotsuki village in the East Blue. On the other hand, Hiyori is the daughter of the Wano's former emperor, while her brother is the current leader. Zoro not only saved Hiyori's life, but he also made her fall for him with his excellent swordsplay. According to Oda, in Wano culture, the women are attracted to strong men who are powerful swordsmen like Zoro. Furthermore, on this panel, when she witnessed Zoro fight Killer with his impressive three-sword style, the text at the bottom is the sound effects Doki Doki, which represents a heart beating fast. Considering that and the expression on her face, it's obvious she was completely love-struck the second she saw him. Unfortunately, they didn't get enough screen time together during the Wano arc because they both had a mission to carry out. But the brief moments they had with each other definitely meant something. If only Zoro had the brains to care about anything other than fighting Mihawk, maybe they'd be a couple already. However, it's still the best future pairing for him, in my opinion. 7 out of 10. Luffy and Vivi. Although it sounds weird, Luffy and Vivi may actually share way more than you think. They're both incredibly significant people when it comes to the story of the show. They're also both from the infamous D clan as well. In fact, Vivi's ancestor Lily was a key ally to Joy Boy's cause, just as Vivi was to Luffy back in Alabasta. Vivi clearly cares about Luffy a lot, and she even wanted to join his crew. And yeah, I know this couple is really unlikely to actually happen, but it's One Piece. Everything is possible, I guess. 2 out of 10. Luffy and Boa. Compared to the previous one, this one is a no-brainer when you think about it. Boa's completely smitten by Luffy and is ready to do literally anything for her love. She literally got infected with the love disease, so it's clear she's very serious about her relationship with the future Pirate King. Unfortunately for her, Luffy doesn't seem to notice her love at all, at least for the time being. You see, when asked about it, Oda revealed that Luffy is definitely interested in having a relationship with a woman. However, he is currently too occupied with becoming the Pirate King, so he doesn't have any time to think about it. So once Luffy finds the One Piece and achieves his goal, this relationship is pretty much guaranteed. This one is an easy 10 out of 10. Sanji and Pudding. Sanji and Pudding are pretty much a married couple already, and although their marriage was arranged by their families, by the end of the arc, it was obvious that they truly cared about each other. Both of them have made sacrifices for each other. They've saved each other's lives too. Not only that, they both share a love for cooking and pride themselves in their skills. They're the perfect match. And let's be honest, as soon as he landed his eyes on Pudding, he forgot about Nami and Robin way too quickly. During the wedding, Sanji truly accepted Pudding for who she was when he found out about her third eye, which is something no one else has done for her before. Nothing could make his love falter, except, well, having his memories with Pudding basically removed by her. Pudding had nothing but regret when she forced herself away from the man she loved so passionately. However, a lot of things can happen until the end of the series, and I believe that Sanji and Pudding getting together is definitely one of them. 8 out of 10. There are only 4 more couples left to cover, and at the end of the video, I'll reveal a possible future partner for Shanks. Usopp and Kaya. Usopp and Kaya share a special bond that clearly translates into them being a potential match for each other. I mean, they even shared a kiss during the One Piece live action, which pretty much confirmed it. Usopp and Kaya grew up in the same village, and despite being publicly known as a liar, Usopp could always depend on Kaya to listen to his stories, even though she knew he was making it all up. Throughout his life, he treated Kaya with respect and deep care, and was incredibly worried about her when he found out about Captain Kuro's plans. Despite being a complete coward, he risked his own life in order to save the woman he liked so much. Also, they have a lot of on-screen chemistry together, and Kaya is still keeping up with the news and fondly remembers him as if they'd never drifted away from each other's lives. As the series wraps up and Usopp becomes the great warrior of the sea, I think it's obvious these two will get together and happily live the rest of their lives. This one is a 10 out of 10 for me. Whitebeard and Stussy. Although there's not a lot of evidence to support this idea, Whitebeard and the real Stussy may have been a couple in the past, like she claims they were. A big reason as to why this is possible is because both she and Whitebeard were a part of the Rocks crew at about the same time. Also, as we already know, Whitebeard's dream was never fame, wealth, or power. The only thing he wanted was a family. So wouldn't it make sense that he tried to have a real family with someone before? I believe it's possible that these two hooked up at some point while on Rocks crew, and the relationship probably went sour at some point, which led to Whitebeard leaving and starting his own crew. Another interesting thing is that Edward Weevil, who Stussy claims is hers and Whitebeard's son, defended his late father's island from the Marines. Not only that, but he also seems to have same mustaches as Whitebeard and even carries a similar weapon. Now, whether Weevil is Whitebeard's biological son, we can't say for sure, but the possibility of him and Stussy being together at some point is definitely much more likely. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Before I reveal who Shanks' secret partner is, let's quickly go over Sanji and Nami. The constant simping Sanji is known for when it comes to Nami is a well-known gag within the community. But what'll happen if Oda actually throws us a curveball and legitimately makes them a couple? I mean, it's not impossible. Nami clearly knows he's into her, and if she gave him the opportunity, you bet he won't hesitate a second. Sanji and Nami have saved each other's lives on a number of occasions, and being through so much together could eventually escalate into a relationship. Also, we have to remember that Nami even went with the crew to save Sanji when he was taken to the Whole Cake, even though there were other members more capable than her who could have handled the task. I don't think this relationship is that likely to happen. 3 out of 10. Shanks and Makino. From what we've seen in the show so far, Shanks has a habit of drinking booze with his crew on any island he visits. But what prompted him to stick around the East Blue for so long? What was so special about Makino's tavern in the first place? Why was it his main spot to hang out? Fine food and booze aside, maybe there's more to this story than what Oda's letting on. During the very first chapter when Shanks got into conflict with mountain bandits, he didn't escalate the situation and decided to just endure their insults. Now, although he had his reasons for this, could another reason be that he just didn't want to create more problems for Makino? Another interesting thing is that on this cover page for chapter 614, Oda confirmed that Makino had a child. Upon getting asked about a baby, Oda told us that the father is most likely that person. I don't know about you guys, but that person could easily be Shanks if you ask me. He's the only guy we've seen actually interacting with Makino, and the pair seem to like each other even though they didn't exchange a lot of words. But if that still didn't convince you, take a look at this! On the cover page for chapter 806, if you take a really close look, you'll notice that Makino is wearing a ring, meaning she most likely got married. Fast forward a couple chapters later, on this cover page, we can see Shanks attending a certain wedding. Maybe it was his own? Since we don't have any concrete evidence of this, I'll give it a 5 out of 10 score for now. And if you like this video, you'll definitely like this one as well, where I explained all 35 final forms in One Piece. Go ahead, click it!